Hakeem Olufemi Gbajabiamila. God bless you all.
It has become a very disturbing issue. The spate of flood, risk exposures amongst vulnerable settlements and communities.
House resumes plenary and holds emergency sitting over flood disasters across the country.
We believe this amount is too little to run an agency.
And lawmakers decry what they described as poor budgetary allocation to Bureau for Public Procurement. Welcome to another episode of the program House Tickets, a program that documents the activities of the House of Representatives, Federal Republic of Nigeria. My name is Dihelia Mamza, your regular guide on the program. The House of Representatives resumed plenary on Monday, 14th November 2022 with an emergency sitting, as lawmakers felt the need to address the devastating flood disasters recently faced across the country. Also on the program today, we have reports from the committee rooms where the House Ad-hoc Committee on Joint Ventures as well as the House Committee on Ecological Fund resumed their investigations on matters of national interest. This is in addition to reports of budget defense exercises ongoing at the National Assembly. Please stay tuned. The program continues shortly.
The entire purpose of the legislative agenda is to direct our legislative resources and efforts in a coordinated effort to ensure the well-being of the individual in a life of safety and freedom. That is a high ambition, but it's well worth the effort. We have passed landmark legislation to fix our oil and gas industry, reform the police, and reorganize the corporate administration system in our country. We have considered and passed meaningful legislation that impacts all areas of our national life.
Thanks for staying tuned. When the House sat in plenary on Monday, 14th November 2022, the Speaker, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, in a welcome address, commented on the efforts of various House committees in conducting budget defense for ministries, departments and agencies the oversight in order to ensure that the 2023 appropriation bill serves the needs of Nigerians.
The committees of the House have been working on the 2023 appropriations bill, ensuring the final budget serves the needs of the Nigerian people and meets the development objectives of our communities across the country. Legislators are also working to ensure that, in line with the reforms of the 9th Assembly, we have a final bill ready for the presidential assent before the end of the year.
The Speaker reiterated the dedication of the 9th House of Representatives to its legislative agenda, which has so far guided its actions across priority areas in the country's development. Along this line, Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila announced the planned National Summit on Tertiary Education Reform, which will hold from the 22nd to 23rd of November 2022.
The summit is an opportunity to begin the long overdue national conversation about the future of public tertiary education in Nigeria. Scholars, tertiary education administrators, and local and international stakeholders have been invited to submit papers on the theme of the summit, which is Imagining Tertiary Education in Nigeria: Issues, Challenges, and Solutions, and other sub-themes provided in the call for memoranda.
After his remarks, the full business of the day started. For details of the plenary, let's get report as compiled and presented from our studio.
I'm moving this motion in conjunction with my colleague, the ranking chair.
The major reason for the reconvening of the House on Monday, 14th November 2022 was the floods that ravaged the country, causing loss of lives and property worth billions of naira. The matter was discussed via a motion sponsored by Representative Henry Nwauba alongside Representative Ibrahim Isiaka under matters of urgent public importance. It had the title, The Need for Strategic Planning and Funding for the Prevention of Flood Disasters in Nigeria in 2023 and Beyond. In leading the debate, Representative Nwauba called the attention of the House to the different causes and effects of flooding on the socio-economic well-being of Nigerians.
We have observed incident trends of late among localities and even countries. It has become a very disturbing issue. The spate of flood, risk exposures amongst vulnerable settlements and communities. Further disturbed that recent unpleasant experiences in Nigeria could have been avoided or mitigated if we clearly identified and recognized the peculiarity of risk we are exposed to, based on our geographical positioning. In 2023, 33 of 36 states and the FCT are affected. That is 92% of the entire country. Over 600 people killed, over 1.4 million people displaced, and over 2.5 million people in need of humanitarian aid, with over 60% of these being children.
His prayers were for the House to mandate the Committee on Legislative Agenda to coordinate a technical working group between the executive and legislature, as well as industrial experts and stakeholders to articulate an action plan to forestall a repeat of such flood and erosion disasters in 2023 and beyond. Urge the federal government through the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, as well as Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, to release immediately the sum of 5 billion naira into the already created Ecological Fund account of each state of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory to mitigate the effects of flooding that recently ravaged the entire nation. Mandate the House Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance and report back to the House within 1 week. The motion was voted on and adopted.
Transmission of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT 2020.
Moving on to other matters, the House received communication from the President which transmitted 3 bills to the National Assembly for its consideration and approval. The bills are the 2023 Federal Capital Territory Statutory Budget, the Code of Conduct Bureau Tribunal and its related Constitution of the Federal Republic Bill 2022, the 2023 Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC budget proposal for consideration and approval of the National Assembly. The legislative documents were referred to the appropriate committees for further work.
And the FCT to the Federal Capital Territory.
I will perform my functions honestly to the best of my ability.
Meanwhile, a new member was sworn in on that day. He is Representative Mohammed Adamu Al-Ali of Bassa Jos North Federal Constituency of Plateau State. He is of the People's Redemption Party (PRP) and recently won the court case over the seat.
The program is House Tickets, and we just brought you a summary of the emergency sitting held by the House of Representatives last week. Up next are reports from the committee room, starting with the House Committee on Ecological Funds as it continued with its investigation into accruals and utilization of the ecological funds in the last 12 years. Keep watching.
Distinguished Honorable Chairman.
The House Committee on Ecological Fund on Wednesday, November 16, 2022, continued its investigative hearing on the total consolidated mandatory accruals into the Ecological Fund, its disbursement in line with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution, its utilization by benefiting government, departments and agencies, and infractions, if any, from 2010 to March 2022.
The Ecological Fund Committee.
Speaking at the continued hearing, the chairman of the committee, Representative Ibrahim Isiaka, said many of the agencies invited by the committee to appear before it have been evasive. He also complained about lack of cooperation with the committee by states and local governments.
We have all these opportunities, this space here to galvanize all these ideas. What's the essence of the House of Reps increasing money to the local government and the state? If they cannot come, cause appearance, then to come up and let us talk about it. So I think one day we'll have a rethink. Don't continue to blame the federal government every time. The intervention program at the presidency is just 1%. Out of this 1%, 4 agencies are still taking money from it. But the ones for the local government and that of the state, nobody is sharing it with them. We have still gone ahead. It's been signed by Mr. Speaker for onward transmission to the Senate, which will now eventually go to the President. And we have gotten the buy-ins of the presidency, even on this. So that it's not that when we pass all these laws, they will now say they want to take it to the Attorney General. So why are they not here? Why is Agbo not here?
Appearing before the committee, the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Ahmad Habib, apologized to the committee for the agency's failure to appear before it earlier. He, however, noted that this year's flood disaster is the worst in the history of Nigeria.
The 2022 flood disaster is the worst flood disaster in the recorded history of Nigeria. It was by far more devastating than the 2012 flood, which was hitherto considered unprecedented in the history of Nigeria. Distinguished Chairman, I have personally been in the field coordinating rescue operations and on-the-spot assessment in the overall national interest of saving lives and safeguarding livelihoods. There is no doubt that, but for the concerted support we gave to SAMAS, the level of devastation of the 2022 flood disaster would have been worse than what we experienced.
The NEMA DG then gave a report on the funds received and utilized by the agency.
The total receipt of this period, which is almost 11 and a half years, is 110 billion 411 million 909,231 naira 45 kobo. Please refer to attached Annexure A for details of monthly and yearly receipts based on committee's template. During the same period, the sum of 112 billion 137 million 641,074 naira 17 kobo was expended in disaster management activities across the country. Please refer to Annexure B for monthly and yearly tabulated details of expenditure from Ecological Fund. It is pertinent to note that unlike other appropriated funds, balance from Ecological Funds are rolled over to the next fiscal year.
We have only 2 days to study your documents and come up with whatever we have found to still interrogate you further on. So the clerk will communicate with you when you have to cause appearance. But we can assure you that we'll ensure that we make it so comfortable not to box you in any corner, because we understand you are very busy now. We know that.
In another development, the House of Representatives Ad-hoc Committee investigating the structure and accountability of joint venture business and production sharing contract of Nigerian National Petroleum Company NNPC Limited has summoned Total upstream over tax claims of $85 billion.
Issue of representation at the highest level.
Chairman of the committee, Representative Abubakar Hassan Fulata, claimed that almost all the oil companies in Nigeria collected capital allowance and investment tax claims without certificate of acceptance of fixed assets. This, he says, constitutes a breach of Nigeria's extant laws.
The issue is that virtually all oil companies in Nigeria, I'm making a generalization, all companies in Nigeria do not have the CAFA certificate. And they are enjoying capital allowance, which amounts to billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. This is fundamental. And this is most surprising. Things that they cannot do in their countries, they are doing in Nigeria.
The committee says it will have no other options but to insist that all the defaulting companies be compelled to refund payment back to the government coffers.
Malfeasance of $7.3 billion in respect of OML 130 PSC The first one is Total Upstream Limited. The second one is Total Upstream Nigeria Limited. Number 3, ADAX Petroleum is expected to appear before this committee to defend itself against malfeasance of $2.8 billion in respect of OML 123 and 124.
The chairman says tax evasion by the oil companies is central to the committee's investigation, which covers a period of 32 years, precisely from 1990 to date.
If you just joined us, the program is House Tickets, coming to you on the parliamentary channel of the NTA. So far, we have taken reports from the House Plenary of Monday, 14th November 2022, where the 2022 flood was discussed as a matter of urgent public importance. We have also taken reports from 2 investigative hearings on the Ecological Fund as well as NNPC's joint venture contracts. Up next is a report on the ongoing budget defense exercise. Do stay tuned.
You know, this is the budget defense season. This is a matter of national emergency.
Tell us how far you've gone in meeting your mandate.
We reject this budget. This budget cannot work.
We allow the minister to take a bow and go.
Okay, so please you can proceed to the Senate.
Is it the wish of the committee? Yes.
On Tuesday, 15th November 2022, the Ministry of Labour and Employment appeared before the House Committee on Labour to present its report on the 2022 budget implementation as well as the 2023 budget proposal.
Appropriation utilization.
Leading the ministry's team was the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Ms. Kachalom Daju, who did the presentation on behalf of the ministry, gave a summary and highlights of the 2022 budget implementation and performance.
The total of all the monies released for the ministry on appropriation, a total of 14 billion and 76 million 538,357 naira. Amount released is 7 billion 853 million 269,529.6. Expenditure till date 5 billion 584 million 596,5.48 naira. Balance based on allocation is 2 billion 268 million 673,523.97. Balance on appropriation is 6 billion 223 million 268,827.25 naira. So performance based on expenditure of everything given to the ministry is 71.1%.
The Permanent Secretary afterwards proceeded to the presentation of the ministry's 2023 budget proposal on the permission of the committee chairman, Representative Aliu Wudil.
Personnel, 5 billion 500 million 707,771 naira. Overhead estimated cost of 998 million 793,638 naira. Capital is 2 billion 973 million 72,355 naira. The total allocation for 2023 estimated allocation is 9 billion 472 million 573,764 naira. Please, can you explain to us why the
Lawmakers then took turns to ask questions on the budget implementation and performance, which the Minister and the Permanent Secretary responded to.
I realize that the money has been in your account, and according to your presentation till October, and you have not expended the money. Please, you may need to give little explanation on that.
The IGR we get goes into the treasury. We don't assess it. So the revenue so named here, we don't touch it. You know, the recruiter's license and everything. No, we don't. It goes into the treasury and is done under a meter.
Bringing the budget defense to a close, the committee chairman, Representative Aliu Wudil, said the committee is looking forward to the submission of all necessary documents it requested from the ministry during the defense.
And the last one is the justifying of your overhead. I think these are what we request. I think in the absence of any other question, comment, or observation, as soon we have finished with the Ministry of Labor, I think the ministry or headquarters is discharged but not acquitted. So we are going to look at your own proposal, and if need be, we are going to call you again to see the areas that we can adjust or we can do whatever I think is possible for the benefit of Nigerians.
Budget, salary, and the payment.
Similarly, the House Committee on Public Procurement had before it the Bureau of Public Procurement (BPP) for budget defense, where it maintained a position that Nigeria stands to lose a lot should there be poor budgeting. The committee first expressed its worry about the Bureau's 2022 budget releases for implementation after a presentation by the Director General of the BPP, Mr. Mamman Ahmadu.
In the implementation of the budget as at 4th November 2022, a total sum of 1,040,051,398 naira 75 kobo out of the approved sum of 1,619,115,549 naira has been released to the Bureau. The breakdown of the release sum is as follows. Capital expenditure, 97,816,307 naira 78 kobo. Overhead expenditure, 554,201,607 naira 119 kobo.
I'm really worried. I'm worried because the paltry amount of 97 million released to a bureau such as yours are supposed to handle the procurement of projects in a budget that runs into trillions. It's a consign if actually we want to drive efficiency of the implementation and the monitoring of these projects.
After the presentation of the Bureau's 2023 budget proposal by the Director General, the committee chairman, Representative Nasir Ahmed, and members expressed more worries, particularly about the 58 million naira capital allocation in the budget.
The projected total sum of 1,745,188,555 naira is earmarked for 2023 fiscal year with the following breakdown. Capital expenditure, 58,967,454 naira. Overhead expenditure, 1,11,981,865 naira.
With 58 million as the capital for 2023 budget for the BPP, I really can't understand how an agency that is very, very important to the economic and structural growth of this country can be allocated just a mere amount of 58 million.
The committee, however, noted that it will make a case for the Bureau while also urging the leadership of the Bureau to make a case for itself.
What the committee is saying, and which I strongly concur and agree with the Right Honorable, is that you have to make a case. Because we believe this amount is too little to run an agency.
This is where we end this episode of the program. I encourage you to follow our social media handles showing on your screen to catch up with our previous programs. Until I come your way again, it's bye for now.